the fire was burning and getting closer and closer to this power plant, and the local authorities were warning. Actually, the government and the other authorities were in charge of the operations. And yesterday, it got into a very much critical distance to the power plant. So it was in the morning when the first reports came that it's about to get inside the power plant, but the firefighters managed to put out the flames. Later in the afternoon, another wave of the wildfire was about to raise over the walls that are surrounding the power plant, but the firefighters have managed for the second time to put them also to put out them as well. After evening, at night time, a third wave came and the fire just returned, and it was the most critical one because for the first time the fires got inside the thermal power plant. So it has been managed to be put out, but the danger is still far from over because the wind was still strong here, and they yet carry the fires into the plant's core. And if that happens, that will not just trigger an explosion, but also probably an environmental crisis as well. The authorities have emptied the hydrogen tanks that were used to cool down the plant, and it has been filled with the water as precaution. All the staff have been evacuated. The power plant works on the oil and the fire as well. It's very much close to the residential areas. Still, you can hear that the helicopters and the water bombing planes are carrying the water and pouring that into the wooden peaks and the residential areas around this plant. As I said, the danger is still far from over because there are many fires still nearby.
Okay, Brazil, you mentioned there helicopters dropping water, a lack of firefighting planes was one of the reasons why the President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has come under intense scrutiny. Tell us a little bit about that scrutiny that he's come under, what people are saying and why.
Well, at the center of this political discussion is a Turkish Olympico association, and the opposition accused the government of ignoring this association, which has the water bombing fleets, and it says that the government has ignored this association and the fleet are not being used to fight the fires here. But the government says that the fleet that this association has is very much old and technically they're not able to fly, and it will risk the pilots' lives here. But the opposition says that the decision made by the government is not based on the technical assessment, but rather a political one. On the other hand, the opposition says that the government has been very much slow in accepting the international aid. Another the point of the discussion is that the opposition says that the government hasn't been able to put up a good coordination, and help to the crisis areas is coming very much late. But the government vehemently denies this allegation and says that the hundreds of the fire trucks, the helicopters, water carrying planes are involved from the first day on. Turkey is politically a very divided country, and each time the country faces such a nationwide crisis, this division becomes more and more apparent.
Right, thank you very much for that update there, Rasul Sardar in Milas. The blaze on the island of Raya is one of more than 100 burning across Greece. A wildfire on the outskirts of the capital, Athens, has now receded and has destroyed homes and businesses in its wake. The country is facing its most severe heat wave in 30 years, with the risk of more fires to come. We'll get the latest from Zain Basravi live shortly, but first, here's his report.
One of the most dangerous wildfires of the season so far. It took 500 first responders working around the clock and countless aerial sorties to bring this blaze just north of the Greek capital under control. Volunteers working alongside police and fire rescue teams managed to keep the flames from spreading to more populated areas of Athens. Outside the police cordon, anxious residents waited, businesses completely destroyed. 24 hours after this fire started, the ground here is still smoldering. Here in this tree line, what fire rescue teams are worried about now is that the record high temperatures, the ongoing heat wave, as well as the wind picking up again, will begin to rekindle the flames and restart the fires that they've already put out. As remaining small fires were extinguished, people were allowed to return to see what was left. For 35 years, Vasilis Michaelas lived in a house he built with his own hands, next to his workshop where he restored classic cars. The collection was priceless. The fire took everything.
I first saw the fire around noon. At that point, the fire was high up on the mountain. I left for a little while to do some chores and I came back, but the police wouldn't let me get through. I was waiting for 4 hours.
Had police let him back sooner, he says, he may have been able to save something of value to help him rebuild. Asked to put a price on the damage, he says he has absolutely no idea. Hotter weather is forecast in weeks to come. Scenes like this are likely to play out again. Even as the situation north of Athens improved, record high heat sparked dozens more wildfires across Greece that are still out of control.
Let's go live now to Zain Basravi, who's standing by in Athens. Zain, so more than 100 fires burning across the country. What's the latest?
Well, officially this morning, the Civil Protection organization here announced that the fire north of Athens has been extinguished, but we saw a lot of manpower being thrown at those fires to put them out. And the fact is that fire rescue teams all over the country are really playing a game of whack-a-mole with the fires now. It's like they take one step forward and another step back. As soon as they put out a fire in one place, it seems that another fire ignites elsewhere. Last night, as they started to get the fire north of Athens under control, there were more fires in the north of the country, as well as in the Peloponnese in southern Greece. And on the island of Evia, fires have been raging for 2 days, out of control. We've seen 150 homes destroyed on that island on the Aegean coast. We've seen mandatory evacuations. And as we speak right now, that fire is still out of control. And I want to be clear about what those words mean. The fire is consuming everything in its path, and all that officials and residents and civilians and fire rescue crews can do is try to get out of the way. The problem in many parts of this country is becoming too big for Greece to handle on its own. Now, the good news is there is help on the way. EU countries, including Cyprus and France, are sending fire rescue teams, and Sweden is sending 2 water planes to help douse the flames in different hotspots all over the country. So there is help coming. There was another bit of good news. The government has greenlit the use of the military in combating these fires. So there is help on the way for fire rescue teams all over the country that are certainly beleaguered at this point from jumping from one hotspot to another. But there is also some bad news. The forecasts are that the hot weather, this heat wave, will continue. We're talking about daily highs that easily go past 40 degrees, touching 50 degrees on a regular basis. Winds are also picking up. The forecast does seem to say that the winds will be picking up in coming days. And between the hot weather and the winds literally fanning the flames of these fires, we are likely to continue to see a very robust and strong wildfire season this year.
All right, thank you for that update, Zain Basravi in Athens. Over the border, homes have been damaged by fires in North Macedonia. Blazes have been threatening the city of Kota, but were extinguished in recent hours. Several hundred hectares of forest were burned, with some animals killed. And 2 forestry workers have been killed while fighting fires in Bulgaria. It happened in the region of Sandanski, but wildfires are raging across the country. 240 new ones are cropping up every day. Bulgaria has been going through a heat wave over the past week, with temperatures hovering around 40 degrees. Newly released climate data shows last month was the
in 150 meters at the roundabout.
The observation was made by scientists at the European Union's Copernicus service. Usually high temperatures were noted in regions from Finland to the United States. They said despite the swings from year to year, there's an underlying warming trend across the globe. It means the 4 hottest Julys on record have happened in the last 5 years. In the US, a fast-moving wildfire has roared through a town in Northern California. The Dixie Fire, as it's been called, has been burning for 3 weeks and was whipped up by strong winds as it hit the town of Greenville. Evacuees say most of the downtown area has been destroyed, and the heat was so intense that streetlights melted and bent to the ground. Still ahead on Al Jazeera, the mystery surrounding bodies that are washing up in a river in eastern Sudan. And a cup of coffee a day could keep cancer away. We'll bring you the details of a landmark study. Then it's sport, the golden kiwi. We hear from New Zealand's most successful Olympian.
Season weather continues, in fact gets worse for a good part of Europe. This coming in here, it's more reminiscent of an autumn storm. We're supposed to be in the height of summer. This is going to affect all of northern Europe, which means it's all around the edges, squashed down to the south where it's still warm and summery, and too warm for many. Of course, you know the story. Fires raging from parts of Italy through Greece to Turkey because temperatures have been very high, it's been very dry. These were yesterday's temperatures, and they were down 0.5 to 1.5 degrees the day before, so we're not breaking records, but that's easy above 43. However, there is some good news. Antalya should see its last hottest day today, Thursday, then the wind becomes an onshore breeze. That means all the way along that south coast, we're down to about average temperatures or below. And if you're lucky, by the end of Friday or even Saturday, we start to see thunderstorms break out. And of course, that should be good news for tackling fires. They're not everywhere, not guaranteed, but it is definitely a change in the weather type. The heat elsewhere isn't extreme through Sicily, through Italy and Spain. And as I said, much of northern and central Europe is enjoying, that's the word, windy and wet and thundery weather.
A year ago, one of the largest non-nuclear blasts in history killed more than 200 people and injured thousands. The victims' families still need answers.
We want complete justice.
How did dangerous chemicals end up in Beirut's ports? And was the whole stockpile unloaded from the ship? Join me, Zena Philip, with a full report on Al Jazeera.
The virus is indiscriminate, but those living in poverty are far more vulnerable to the dangers of COVID-19. Ali Ray examines the reasons for this disparity.
The social and economic inequalities that surround us are much deeper and much more problematic than we thought.
And asks whether lessons learned from the global pandemic could lead to positive change.
The health of the poor affects the health of the rich.
All hail the lockdown, exposing privilege and poverty during a crisis on Al Jazeera.
Watching Al Jazeera, I'm Madeline, stories in the sun. The number of new daily coronavirus infections
American confidence or not. And from today, Ibrahim Raisi could start working in full capacity, given the challenges that Asad Beg mentioned in his package. There are many challenges in front of Raisi and his new government, regionally, internationally, and also on the local side.
All right, thank you very much for that update there. We'll be speaking to you throughout the day, I'm sure. Ali Hasyim, live for us in Tehran. In Afghanistan, the security forces are fighting defensive battles as the Taliban push to capture regional capitals. Ground troops have been repelling attacks on multiple fronts as Taliban fighters advance on Herat, Kandahar, and Lashkar. Being backed up by strikes from the Afghan Air Force. More special forces have arrived in Helmand. The Taliban have been fighting in the heart of the provincial capital. Well, let's take a look at where the street battles are taking place in Lashkar. The Taliban has been battling government forces around Helmand police headquarters, as well as the main intelligence headquarters, and a diplomatic area which houses the city's governors. Now, the former British military base has now become a key battleground for the Taliban, and even places considered to be safe are no longer, including the emergency hospital. Taliban fighters have also taken up positions in the main marketplace. Diplomatic editor James Bays has the latest on the fighting from Kabul.
A lot happening in the south and in the west of Afghanistan, and as has been the focus for some days, the province of Helmand, where so much of the fighting involving international forces took place over 20 years, now they have gone, and the fighting is continuing. And it's continuing in the provincial capital, Lashkar, where the Taliban have been in the heart of the city. We have an important new bit of information, and this is sourced to the army brigade of the Afghan army that are leading the operation in Lashkar, and they tell us that there they have carried out an airstrike, the Afghan Air Force, and they say they've targeted senior Taliban leadership in Lashkar. I have to say we only have that from Corps saying that they've done that. Certainly the local journalists are providing us with a lot of our information, says heavy fighting is continuing in the centre of Lashkar. Moving from Helmand to the neighbouring province of Kandahar, and they're still fighting inside the second city, we understand, in the last 24 hours. Airstrikes too have been carried out by the Afghan Air Force. We've got news of casualties from Mirwais Hospital, which is the main hospital in Kandahar. They say that 22 people have been admitted overnight and this morning. Moving to the west of Afghanistan and Herat, that is where the Afghan military felt that they'd made some progress pushing the Taliban back, but I can tell you there has been fresh fighting in Herat in recent hours. The Taliban seem to be overnight, we're told, pushing them from multiple directions towards the centre of the city.
The bodies of Ethiopians are washing up in neighbouring Sudan. It's believed they're victims of the war in Ethiopia's Tigray region, where rights groups say atrocities have been committed. Hibber Morgan reports from Patal Hijau.
For almost a week now, Gebre Temsai Gebre Korostos, an Ethiopian farmer